again with a crew get to know you. My name is Justin McAleece, and today I'm talking to Sarah Marince.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing today?
I'm good.
Rad. What's your job? What do you do?
I am a voiceover artist, so I do commercial work too on camera, but my main focus is voiceover recording. And we're here in my studio right now in Orlando, Florida.
It's very nice. How many years experience do you have?
Well, I started recording voiceover probably about 8 or 9 years ago, but just for one client. It was before I realized you could really do it for a living, which is what I do now. But it was a client, they're called Eaton Park, and I still do voiceover for them. And they're based in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio. And now I do it for all different clients, but they were my first client, and that was, about 8 years ago.
There you go. That's quite a while. That's still... that's a lot of work in that amount of time. So any other notable clients that you could share?
Walt Disney World, Coca-Cola, Chick-fil-A. I recently did one for Dior, which was super cool. The list goes on. I've do a lot for like different colleges and high schools, like online schools. Ring Pops, which was really cool because I am a candy person. So that was neat. Yeah.
There you go. That's a lot. What's your favorite part about your career, about doing this?
Working from home. I think anyone would tell you that does work from home and has their studio in their home that working from home is probably the best part. And kind of the flexible hours, being your own boss, I guess, in a sense. That's probably nice. But I always knew I wanted to work in entertainment in some aspect. So it's nice that I can do that and work from home.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, it's
a nice perk.
It's only going to get more prevalent. I think everyone's going to catch up to you, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So that's good. Not having to drive, not having to worry about that. If you got, kids to take care of at home or whatever it happens to be,
or my dog who is sleeping in my lap right now, who I'm trying to make sure she doesn't start snoring. Yeah.
or have any of her little running dreams or anything.
Oh, yes.
Can you think of a client or VO that was really fun and why?
Yes. So when I first started doing this more often, Disney was actually one of my very first clients that I worked with here in Orlando, because I moved here. I grew up in Pittsburgh, lived in Nashville for almost 8 years. And then I moved here and I've been here for about 5 years here in Orlando. And I was asked to come in and do some voiceover for Hollywood Studios for Star Wars, for some of the events that they were doing there. And I was like, yes, oh my gosh, yes. So that was really cool because my voice was going to be heard throughout the parks. So it was super cool. I'm a huge Disney person. I've been going there my entire life. So you can probably see some Disney statues here in my office. So for me, that was very cool. But to go into their studios here and record, it's pretty cool. And I've gone in, for the past couple of years to do different things for different shows they have in the parks.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's fun. We did a little bit of shooting inside one of the Disneyland here in California.
Yes.
That was a good time.
It's magical.
That's a perk that you never quite think you're going to get, or it's going to work out that way. That was super fun. Yeah. What do you bring to the table that makes you unique? What's different about Sarah?
I'd say for any voice actor, like having a home studio so you can have quick turnaround times. I pride myself on turning my jobs around very quickly. I put that in my emails to anybody that I'm potentially working with or that I am working with. And I stay true to that. So my quick turnaround times, my voice, like I can do like something that's very popular right now is like having that millennial, like young voice, like the conversational millennial term is thrown around a lot. And that's something that I do. And I don't know if it's because I'm considered a millennial, but then I also span into like the young mom thing. So I go from like millennial to the nurturing mom thing quite often. So I'm able to span both. I'm not stuck kind of in one area, like older or younger. So I think those two things help me quite a bit, that I can bounce back and forth. And I find myself doing that a lot throughout the day. Like I'll have a script that is, geared towards younger, and then I'll have to flip. The next thing is a job where I am that more professional or older sounding voice. So it's nice that I have the ability to do both.
Yeah, totally.
As well as some other things, but I think I find that most often.
Yeah, from a client perspective, because, we are often the ones that come to people like you and have you do VOs. Mm-hmm. It's super important that you're flexible and that you sort of identify in your own mind what those different characters are, what types of projects would fit better, and sort of bring that to it. I mean, in my work as a DP or something, I'm thinking like, well, this is going to be a bright, sunny, happy sort of project. Obviously, you don't have to talk me into being like, no, don't go that direction, go this direction. You bring that to the table, and I think it sounds like you do that pretty well. And with our experience in the past, that's definitely
And another thing is I come from a singing background. I sang for years in Nashville and toured around and things. So when it comes to jingle singing, which kind of falls into the voiceover category, I get a lot of auditions and things for jingle singing. That helps me as well, because you do voiceover doesn't mean you sing, but I think it definitely helps. And just coming from a musical background has also helped me with just finding a kind of voice within voiceover, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's awesome. And yeah, that's something that I think as people get to know you, or as they know about that you can do that sort of thing too, that opens up whole other worlds, because then they don't have to find another person to be able to do that.
Right.
What can a client do to help you do your best work?
I think as much direction as possible, like giving as much direction as possible when you're giving the script, so that it helps on both ends. So after like the voiceover artist turns in the script or the recording, there's not a lot of like, well, I wanted it this way, can you turn it back? You know what I mean? So giving as much direction up front, I think that's the most helpful thing. I like directed sessions. So if they want to hop on the phone or hop on Source Connect and kind of direct me through what they want it to sound like, I'm totally cool with that. I think that's very helpful. That can help in the long run. So yeah, I'd say giving as much direction as possible.
Okay. Yeah, and it's sometimes hard as the person directing to decide when to like intervene and how much to tell them, or like what words to use.
Right.
So yeah, that's definitely a relationship that builds over time, and it's a good reason to, once they get someone like you, to be able to keep nurturing that, because then you get shorthand.
And a lot of times with auditions, I'll send in 2 takes where it's like one I'll do, very bubbly and happy and like how I think it's naturally supposed to be read, and then one that's a bit more serious or toned down, just to give them both, because maybe they think they're looking for one thing, but then they hear another thing and they're like, oh, actually I like that better. Or it's just showing them I can do both. Like I was up on here, but I can be pulled back, it's just so many different reasons, but I'll do that, especially if an audition comes through and it's just like 1 or 2 lines. I'll definitely give like 3 different takes of that or something. But yeah, giving multiple takes, just different versions, I think is helpful too.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it gets, what you're always trying to do with any creative endeavor is sort of start wide with a big palette with a bunch of colors, and then be like, okay, we don't care about those ones. Let's narrow it down to this. And then like, okay, within that narrower scope, what do we like even more? And then you go with that. And then you can start like building off of that.
Right.
Yeah. What's one thing that most clients will never know about you?
That I record in my pajamas. Yes, that, one thing, I think there's a lot of things. I like I said, I come from a singing background, and unless, you go and read through my website, that's not something that, because a lot of voiceover actors come from radio, or some kind of background like that. I come from a music background, a dance background. So I come from the arts. I'm guess you wouldn't really know that unless you got to know me, but, and that I live, in Orlando. I guess it's like where you live, what you did before that. 'Cause whenever somebody comes to you and says, hey, we'd like to hire you for this, they don't, you're the hired gun. You know what I mean? Like, so they don't really get to know you super well unless it's an ongoing relationship, which then those turn out to be really, really nice. Whenever you get to know somebody and it becomes somebody you work with years down the road. Like I was talking to somebody that I've been recording for, a client I've been recording for a few years now. And I was talking to her about my wedding plans and how we're having to reschedule all of them. But yeah, thanks coronavirus. But yeah, so it turns into nice relationships eventually. But yeah, that's an interesting question. I guess I was a competitive Irish step dancer for the majority of my life. So that's something a lot of people probably wouldn't know. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's one of those little things you're like, what? They do that? How?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's fun. How does the future look for you? What are you looking forward to? How do you think this turns out?
Well, I got into the game young. I think on the younger end. I'm 30. I turned 30 in April. And at least that's what people say, like, oh, you're young. You know what I mean? to getting into it. And so I'd like to think that I have a bright and like a long future in voiceover. Every year has gotten a little bit better, and I've learned more and more. It seems like I'm just constantly learning and learning. And for me, I attend the voiceover conferences and do online webinars and things like that. And so as I'm learning, I'm just kind of building my career and building my business, which has been awesome. I signed with ACM Talent this April, which has been great for representation. And so it's these little steps that help me build my career and build my business in voiceover. And so hopefully looking down the road, it's more client relationships, more bookings, more things like this. I think this is awesome. And I love, hosting Crew Talk with you guys on Wednesdays. So I think I'm having a lot of fun. This is truly a dream. I love doing it. And it's a great career to have in terms of like flexibility as well. Because it still allows me to do my on camera work, which is nice as well. So it's wonderful.
Yeah. And I think it sounds like you're taking it very professionally. It sounds like you're, coming at it from all angles to be able to be the best at what you're doing. And that's super important. And I think that clients realize that as they get into it, and they can tell the difference pretty quickly between someone who takes it seriously and wants to enrich their value to the client on a daily, monthly, weekly basis sort of thing, and just get better at it. And so that's what we've found with you, and that's why we wanted to get you on here and talk to you a little bit about it. And it's good to hear. I love hearing the optimism about what the future holds on something like that. That's great.
Yeah, well, thank you. No, I think you can always be learning and continue to get better. And every audition is a chance to learn and get better. I love listening to commercials, watching commercials, but I guess I'm like listening to them because it's fun to hear how people read things. And then I'll go, oh, I wouldn't have read it that way or said it that way, but that's interesting. Or that's a good idea. That's a good way to remember, like, you don't have to read things like that, or I like that, so it's fun to kind of learn that way too. It's like television becomes more research, so that's fun. I think as long as you're learning and you're enjoying it, it makes your job a lot of fun, which I think you should have fun with your job. I mean, you get one life, like, why not enjoy what you do? And I really do. I really, really do.
Yeah, that's hold on, sirens.
That's okay. We have thunder on this end. It's about to pour here. Yeah.
That's definitely one of those things. Is like you give you get what you give, right? So the more you invest in something, in most cases, the more you get out of it.
It really is true. Like
this, you get better at it. That's how, just about everything is. And it's sort of how sports are too. Like when you watch a team and have a team and care about the thing and pay attention, they're like, someone else in the room's like, why do you even care about this? And you're like, well, because I invested time in it. And so it matters. So I get more out of it when they succeed. And this is the same sort of thing. You get more out of it the more serious you are about it. Good talking to you. We will see you again in a day or two.
Yes.
Down the line. And excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you for being a part of this.
Yes. Thank you so much. This was really fun.
You too. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
You might be looking at Shoot Stop Video and thinking, so how does this all work? Is this about A, setting up the whole crew for me, B, just giving me options and having me handle it, or C, something in between? Well, it's D, all of the above. To put it simply, we're here to help you in any way that we can to get the crew and talent you need for your next production. We believe that every level of video production can benefit from a well-maintained list of qualified crew members for every position. This goes for pre-pro, on-set, and for post. Every project is different, so if you need a producer to help manage the decision-making process, then we can totally do that. If you're already a producer and want to build your own crew from scratch, then go for it. We're here to make your next production a success. And if you are crew or talent looking for producers that want you, then you've come to the right place. Sign up now, and also leave a referral for any solid people that you know that are already on here. Thank you for considering Shoot Stop Video, and happy shooting!